Now that you know that images make your web pages beautiful, let's learn about a few useful tools. Now, to remember your lessons well, practice as much as you can. These days, web designers use many helpful tools to add, organize, edit, and browse assets for your web pages. One such useful tool is the Adobe Bridge. This session covers the basics of such photo editing tools as Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Bridge, and also includes the basics of Internet. It first explains the organized interface of Adobe Bridge. Then it gives the steps of arranging images, explains the settings in Camera Raw, and talks about the adjustments applied. Next, you learn about the web photo gallery, its interface, the steps of organizing images, settings in Camera Raw, and the adjustments applied. Following this, you learn how to start Adobe Bridge, open and save workspaces, and exit Adobe Bridge. After this, it explains how to get photos from a digital camera, work with raw images from a digital camera, set Camera Raw preferences, and load, save, and delete Camera Raw settings. Then, you learn how to export settings to XMP, work with images in Adobe Bridge, apply image adjustments, automate tasks in Adobe Bridge, create a web photo gallery, and automate tasks. Thus, use such quick and easy tools to create the website with properly selected assets that any of your visitors will love to explore.
Bridge is the navigational control center that provides centralized access to different files, applications, and settings. It has advanced Camera Raw capabilities, XMP metadata tagging, and powerful search functions. Bridge is a standalone program which lets you view, manage, and open files and folders located on your computer. It also provides you with different workspaces like Photoshop and Illustrator. To launch Bridge, click on the Bridge icon in the application bar or choose File, Browse in Bridge. The shortcut for launching Bridge is Alt plus Control plus O. Once you launch Bridge, you will see the Bridge interface. To open a new workspace, click on Window, Workspace, Output. You may choose any other workspace from the available ones. Alternatively, you can choose a workspace directly from the application bar. Every workspace has a different layout. To save the workspace, choose Window, Workspace, New Workspace. The New Workspace dialog box appears. Type a name and click Save. To exit from Bridge, click on the Close button in the Bridge window. If you have raw or some other images that you want to open and save to your computer, you can choose Get Photos from Camera command. This command allows you to store, rename, and save metadata or convert those photos into DNG format. The DNG file format has many options to save the raw image data or enclose the original raw file. To get photos from a camera, choose File, Get Photos from Camera. When you choose this command, you see the Bridge Photo Downloader dialog box. Click on the Get Photos from pull-down menu and select the camera source or the memory card. To save the images, create a new subfolder. Choose the options that you want. The Preserve Current File Name in XMP option lets you save the current file name as image metadata. The Open Bridge option lets you open and show files in a bridge. The Convert to DNG option lets you convert camera raw files into DNG file format. You can set the options for the DNG file format by clicking on the Settings button. You can also delete the original files by clicking on the Delete Original Files option. To save copies to some other folder or to maintain a backup, you can choose the Save Copies to option. To apply the metadata to the files that you have, click on the Advanced dialog button. This opens the same Bridge Photo Downloader dialog box. That shows the Apply Metadata option. In the Apply Metadata option, you can write the creator and copyright name. Once you have made all the settings, click on Get Photos. After that, the copying process begins, which says the files have been copied. Click on Yes. The photos get downloaded in the folder that you have mentioned. You can view those photos in Bridge. Working with raw images from a digital camera. Raw image file formats contain minimally processed data from the image sensor of either a digital camera, image, or motion picture film scanner. They are called as raw because they are not yet processed and therefore are not ready to be used with a bitmap graphics editor or printed. Raw images are larger and so they increase the file size of the document. Using Bridge, you can use Camera Raw to open and view the raw files, TIFF and JPEG files. This enables you to make modifications to the files. Then, you can save the raw images in DNG, TIFF, JPEG or PSB file formats. Choose Edit, Camera Raw Preferences. The Camera Raw Preferences dialog box appears. You can set the preferences that you want. Under General, specify where the camera raw file settings are saved. The Sidecar XMP option lets you store the settings separately, while the Camera Raw Database option lets you store the settings in a database where you can search the files. In the default image settings, choose options which will directly apply settings or set defaults. The Camera Raw Cache settings will set a cache size to reduce the time that is required for loading thumbnails and previews. DNF file handling settings let you choose the options to neglect XMP files or update the enclosed content. JPEG and TIFF handling settings automatically open JPEGs and TIFFs in Camera Raw. Once done with all the settings, click on OK. DNG stands for Digital Negative File Format. This file format stores raw pixel data that has been captured by the digital camera before it has been converted into any other format like TIFF or JPEG. You can make modifications to the file in Camera Raw. Right-click on the image and choose Open in Camera Raw. You will see the interface of Camera Raw 5.0 JPEG. There is a toolbar at the top left side of the camera raw interface. You can use the zoom, hand and crop, rotate and straighten tools to change the size, position and direction of the image. You can also use the white balance tool and color sampler to set the white balance and sample a color of the image. Use the retouch and red eye removal tool to make corrections to the image. The adjustment brush and graduated filter are newly introduced to change the local adjustments. The image preview option displays the active image. Zoom level controls the zoom in and out levels. Histogram displays the information of the colors and brightness levels of the active image. With options like temperature and tint, you can change the total look of the image. Just move the sliders to change the temperature and a tint of the image. As you move the sliders, the histogram also changes. You can also change the exposure, recovery, fill light, blacks, brightness and contrast of the image by moving the sliders. When you make changes, the histogram changes. The clarity, vibrance and saturation can also be changed to make the image look different. Move the sliders to get the desired effect. As mentioned before, the histogram changes. In the white balance pull-down menu, you can choose any of the options. The auto option changes the image automatically, and the default option makes changes that are as per the default settings. To save the image with the applied effects, choose Save Image and specify a folder destination, a file name, and the file format for the image in the Save Options dialog box. To load, save, or delete the definite set of RAW settings, click on the Camera RAW menu button. When you click on the Camera RAW menu button, you'll see an option called Export Settings to XMP. This is used to copy the settings to the sidecar XMP files or enclose them in DNG files. Exporting is useful for saving the camera RAW settings when you move them. When you are done with the processed file, click on Done. To open the image in Photoshop, click on Open Image. Press Alt to use Open Copy or Reset. Using Bridge, you can search, sort, manage, add metadata, and process images one at a time or in batches. You can also view information about the files and data you have imported from your camera. You can navigate through different folders and choose a folder from the list. Click on the folder option to view the folders. Click on Favorites to choose from the list of user-defined items. To view the information, which includes date, time, aperture, shutter speed, and f-stops of the image, click on Metadata. Click on the Output option to preview a larger thumbnail of the image. Use the File Management options to open a recent file, create a new folder, delete an item, or rotate images. Click on the Label menu to add a label or rate the images. To make a group of related images, select the images and click the Stacks menu. Then choose Group as Stack. You can use the Stack menu to ungroup, open, expand, and collapse stacks. Double-click on the image thumbnail to open it in the default program, or drag the image thumbnail to open the image. You can apply image adjustments to the image in Camera Raw and then apply those adjustments to other images directly from Bridge without going back to Camera Raw settings. Click on the Edit, Develop settings and select the preset adjustment. You can also copy and paste settings. Choose Edit, Develop settings, Copy settings. Likewise, choose Paste settings once you have copied the settings. To apply the recent settings, choose Edit, Develop, Previous Conversation, This is a new feature for creating a web photo gallery. If you need to show your photographs or upload them without writing all the HTML codes, Web Photo Gallery is the best option. With the Bridge application opened, click on the workspace and choose Output. Click on the Web Gallery button. In the Template pull-down menu, select a template such as Standard, Left Film Strip, and Film Strip, etc. Once you have selected the template, click on the Refresh Preview button to see your template. The template will appear in a few seconds. To customize the web gallery, choose the options from the Site Info, Color Palette, and Appearance panel. The Site Info panel provides you with information about the web photo gallery. The Color Palette panel lets you select custom colors for screen elements, and the Appearance panel defines the options to show file names, preview and thumbnail size, slide duration, and transition effects. In the Create Gallery panel, enter a name for the gallery and select the creation option. Choose Save to Disk and select Browse. Specify a location and select Save. Once you save the gallery, you will get a message saying Gallery created. click on OK to upload the gallery, choose Upload and specify the FTP server location, the username and password, and click Upload. You have learned how to do batch renaming in the Automating lab. Here in Bridge, you can select the files or the folders and choose Tools, Batch Rename. Select the folder and choose any option, that is, rename in same folder, move to other folder or copy to other folder, and then click on Browse and specify the location. Make changes in the New File Names option if you want and select the Preserve Current File Name in XMP metadata. Click on the Compatibility option to select the operating systems with which you want the renamed files to be compatible. After all the settings are specified, click on Rename.
Hello, hope you are understanding and learning from the sessions that you are taking. Practice as much as you can. Now let's move ahead. Currently, there are many photo editing tools that web designers use for creating and editing complex images. One such popular image editing software is Adobe Photoshop. This session begins with an introduction to Photoshop and its many functions. Then, it gives a list of different forms of Photoshop creations such as art, photographs, montage, restoration, etc. It then explains terms like pixels, image resolution, their types, etc. Next, it draws a comparison between raster and vector graphics with proper pictorial representations. Following this, it explains the two color modes such as RGB and CMYK. Then, it explains the integration features of Photoshop such as InDesign, Illustrator, XD, etc. Moving forward, it shows a demo of using Photoshop in designing your web pages. Further, it explains the meaning of white balance in images and covers the process of maintaining it in images. Thus, use Photoshop to create or edit images or logos that would add value to your web page.
Hi, welcome to the Adobe Photoshop module. Photoshop is a very popular image editing software which is used to create complex images with the artwork and also to edit the images. Adobe says go wherever your imagination takes you. So, what is Photoshop? Photoshop is the most popular photo retouching, image editing and a color painting program and a graphic designing tool. It lets you create high-quality digital images, tools, and has special effects capabilities to it. It can manipulate scanned images, slides or original artwork And you can also isolate the part of an image for experimentation on an individual editing. And there's a lot more you can do with Photoshop. What can you create with it? Photoshop lets you create arts, line drawings like charcoal paintings, color original. You can also work with photographic images. You can do restoration of images. You can create images for the World Web or for the websites. You can create montage with it. You can do half tones, duotones, tritones, quad tones images. You can do color separations in images, and you can apply. What are pixels? Any image you take in the real world is basically made of pixels. The word pixel means a picture element. Every photograph in a digital form is made of pixels. They are the smallest unit of information that takes up a picture, usually round or square, and they are typically arranged in the two-dimensional grid of X and Y. When we enlarge the picture, you will be able to see those pixels. Any real-world image is made of pixels. Whether it is from a professional DSLR camera or you're taking from your mobile camera, they are made up of pixels, which gives birth to image resolution. Now, image resolutions are generally of two types, 72 ppi and 300 ppi. So the ppi means pixels per inch. Now, 72 is most popular for the web and for desktop viewing, whereas 300 ppi is more popular for printing. Image resolution describes the amount of detail and the image contains. The term can be applied to digital images, film images, and prints. The bottom line is the higher the resolution, it means more detail and the images are going to appear more clear and sharper. So it clearly defines in 1 inch of an area. How many pixels are there? And if you have more pixels, which means the clarity will be better. And this brings us to another concept of raster versus vector graphics. So any image which is a real world image is basically composed of pixels, which we have discussed. And when you enlarge the images, you can actually see those pixels in it. So this kind of pixel-based graphics or images are known as raster graphics because they get pixelated when you zoom in and you start seeing the pixels in it. Whereas a vector graphic is a graphic which you design in the software and define by a mathematical path, and when you enlarge those vector files, they do not get pixelated. As you can see here, so even if this clock is getting bigger in the size, it does not get pixelated because it is made up of vector shapes. So raster graphic is an image made up of pixels. Each has a different color and arranged in a way to display an image. Whereas the vector is made up of paths, each with a mathematical formula that tells the path how it is shaped and what color it is bordered with or filled by. So that's the difference between the raster and the vector graphic. If you're creating a logo for the website, or if you're creating a button, or maybe any kind of form fields for the web in Photoshop, you should design it as a vector graphic using the vector tools. If you're just editing the images, you will mostly be using the raster capabilities of Photoshop while working with it. Photoshop is majorly focused on the raster graphics. However, you can even draw vector graphics in Photoshop. The next thing we will talk about is color models. There are primarily two types of color modes we use in Photoshop. RGB is used for photography, videos, and films and design. If you're a web designer or a developer, you are majorly going to use RGB because web displays the images in the RGB mode, or the digital screens represent the colors in the RGB mode. If you belong to a print industry, you are going to use CMYK, which stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, and is used for the print industry. This is how these color models look like, right? So the cyan, the CMYK color module, is also known as subtractive colors because when you add all the colors together, it forms a black color. Whereas the RGB colors are known as adaptive colors because when you add all the RGB colors, they form white color. Now what makes Photoshop very popular is, in the Adobe Creative Cloud, is the integration of Photoshop. Photoshop can integrate with lot of other Adobe software such as Adobe InDesign, Adobe Illustrator, Adobe XD, Adobe Premiere Pro, Adobe After Effects, Animate CC, Character Animator, and these are the softwares with which Photoshop integrates very well. And all these softwares can import the native Photoshop PSD files into it. However, Photoshop files can be imported in the Adobe softwares. There are many other third-party software which support Photoshop files such as Figma, and there are many other tools which can import native Photoshop files when you want to work with them. So with a small introduction to what is Photoshop, Hi, welcome to Photoshop module. Now we're going to look at the practical aspects of Photoshop and how you can use Photoshop to white balance images and to remove spots on the face and how it can be used for the automation purpose. So when you launch Photoshop for the first time, this is probably what you're going to see over here. It shows welcome to the Photoshop and you can drag and drop your files here to get started. If you've used it previously, it will show the most recent files over here. So you can create a new file by clicking on the new file here, or you can go to the open to open the files. You can also go to the file option, go to the file, then new or open. So if you go to the new tab lets you create a new document, which is blank document, where you can start creating your graphics and start creating the web UIs. So we have multiple tabs here for the presets, for the photographs, for print, for art illustrations, for the web, and you can see the most common websites are given here. You also have for mobile, film and video. So Photoshop is almost used in every industry of graphic design and web UI designing. So you can start by opening a new document, or you can open the image. We will be looking at how to edit images in Photoshop. So I will be opening the first image we are going to edit. I'm going to click on close here and now go to open and go to on my computer. So click on my computer and go to the desktop. We have a Photoshop folder here and go to the retouch option. First we are going to look at how to white balance the picture. So select this picture for white balance and open in Photoshop, and as soon as you click on open, Photoshop will open this image into it by loading it here, and you can see we have the Photoshop interface loaded. Now in this interface, as you can see, we have the menu on the top for the Photoshop. Then we have the control panel of Photoshop. This control panel basically keeps changing depending on the tool you are going to select in Photoshop. So if I select the move tool, you can see the control panel changes. If I select any other tool, the control panel changes here. So the left hand side is your tools panel, and if it does fit in your view, we can also click on this arrow to make it in 2 rows, and you can easily see all the tools here. Every tool has some other tools inside of it. If you see an arrow next to the tool and you click and hold it, you can see what more tools it has. For example, if you go to the spot healing here, and if I click and hold, you can see there are many tools under this tab. So Photoshop has a large collection of tools which are used for different purposes here. Then on the right hand side, we have the panels. Now these are different panels which we use in Photoshop for different purposes. Especially the most important panels you have are the layers panel and the properties panel. Property panel keeps changing its properties depending on the task you're doing in Photoshop, and layer panel lets you organize the layers, and while working in Photoshop, you're going to spend a lot of time in the layers panel as well. So that is about the interface of Photoshop you have. Now let's see how we can zoom in and zoom out. You can zoom in and zoom out by simply using the keyboard shortcut Ctrl, plus and minus. Alternately, you can also use the Alt and mouse scroll to zoom in and zoom out. You can hold down the spacebar to move around the picture instead of using the sidebars for scrolling, which you can also be used for that, but you can use the spacebar simply to move around the picture. You also have the hand tool here and the zoom tool over here to zoom in and zoom out. You can also fit the picture into the screen by pressing Ctrl plus 0. And if you want to view the 100% of the picture, you can press Ctrl 1. So press Ctrl 0 to fit the picture here. Now let's look at how we can white balance this picture. So what is white balancing? When the photograph taken by camera is not showing the actual colors. You can see this image looks more yellowish in tone, and it's giving the feeling that it has warmer colors to it. But we want to white balance it and we want to make the colors look more neutral. For example, the white should appear pure white. This dress color is like having little casting of yellow color here, and even the leaves are at the back. So we're going to white balance it. So there are multiple ways you can do that in Photoshop. Over here in this example, I'll be using the adjustment of color balance, and you can access the color balance adjustment by simply going to the image adjustments and color balance. So if you go to the color balance, you can see it opens this color balance here. And currently we are going to work in mid-tones. Mid-tone means the neutral colors here in neutral tones. So have shadows. Shadows are the darker parts of the images, and you have highlights, which are the lightest part of the images here. So first I'm going to adjust the mid-tones because we have a lot of the yellow here. So we will move towards the blue. We have yellow and blue here. So what we can do is we can take the slider and move towards the blue, because to remove that yellow, we want to add a bit of blue color. So we will add that, not much, but just a little. So plus 30 here. I will also add a little bit of cyan instead of the red, because we can see now that there is a lot of red color coming out of it. So go to the cyan side, and we can also try to add a green color. So move to the green side here. You can see how the image is starting to look much better. Now go to the preview and select the box. You can see how the look is changing. We can do some changes in the highlights and shadows as well. Go to the shadows part and move towards the blue again a little bit and little to the cyan side. You can see now this looks more greenish. And we move to the green side more here. There we go. And let's go to the highlights and just do a little adjustment in highlights as well. So go to the highlights, take it to the blue side, move to the cyan, just a little, and a little bit of green if needed. And you can see now we have white balance in the picture. So the color balance is one of the best tools to white balance the pictures. One of them, remember, right? So this is one way I can white balance the picture. The other way you can white balance the picture instead of this manual controls, you can also look for the curves. So I'm going to say cancel it. The other way we can do this is we can go to the image adjustments and then go to the curves. Now curves are one of designers' favorites in terms of editing the picture in Photoshop, because with curves you can simply pick up the most neutral grey color or the white point and it will automatically get color corrected. So in the curve panel we have these three eyedroppers. One is black and other is grey and white. So I'm going to pick up a neutral grey color. So go to the grey point and anything which looks grey or more towards the white side, we can pick that. So I'll be picking up this and click. You can see it doesn't change much because we are picking the grey point. And we are trying to white balance it, though that is more kind of whitish here. So what we can do is instead of the grey point, we can undo by pressing Ctrl Z, and you can go to the white point and pick up the white point here. You can see it changes the graph a little bit. So if you on and off the preview, you can see a very subtle change which is now happening inside the image. But this tool does not always give you the best options. So you can try, for example, I will just reset it here by doing undo again. And if I go back to the midpoint again, let's try to pick up some kind of a mid-gray point. So select this belt, for example, and on and off the preview to see the preview here, and we can see that now it's much better. So what I did was I took the eyedropper of the gray color and picked up the point on belt here, and you can see it instantly white balances the picture. So no manual controls are needed here, and the picture is white balanced. That's how you can white balance the picture in Photoshop. So let's save this. We will save it in the highest quality of JPEG. Click OK and your image is saved now. And we can close the picture by clicking on the close button here.
Tell me what idea you have when it comes to images for web designing.
To create a website, we need images. We can click photos or simply subscribe and download images from stock websites like Shutterstock, Storyblocks, etc. A website is the first thing a customer visits, so we will need images of the logos and other images that are important for the brand identity. Once we have all the images, we will edit them in Adobe Photoshop and keep them web ready.